Hi, Duke. How you doing?
I'm good, Tyler. How are you?
Good. Thanks for asking. You guys attacked the defensive side of the football in free agency for the second year in a row. Was that by design, or was that just how things panned out?
A little bit of both. We thought we had needs over there we needed to address, and we had opportunities that came up that we felt were good opportunities for us. So it was a little bit of both. You never know how free agency is going to go when you kick it off, but we knew that there were spots over there we wanted to address and had needs, and we wanted to kind of free up our draft a little bit, and so that's the way we chose to go.
On the offensive line, you added Riley Reef and re-signed Quentin Spain. Are you satisfied with the current state of your offensive line? And moving forward in the draft, how do you feel about the upcoming draft class, that offensive line?
Yeah, I think it's a position we'll address at some point in the draft. We'll see where that point comes. We're still going through those discussions. I do think we've got some good players in the building, and I think the group can come together. I'm very bullish on how that group can meld. It's got to stay healthy, and once if we can get a healthy season out of it, and we can get five guys playing together, I think the unit as a whole will look a lot better. And so I'm hopeful, knocking on wood, that guys can get through camp and get through the season healthy and kind of come together as a group. But do I anticipate still some new additions? I do, yeah.
Duke, have you received any intriguing offers for number five? I'm sure you've at least gotten some calls, but have you received at least any intriguing offers at five?
Yeah, there's nothing hard. I think people are still waiting to see exactly what's going to happen. Maybe at 3 and 4, those things will come a little in a more firm way during the draft as the draft unfolds. We have discussions with teams all the time about potentials and are you willing to talk about it? And yeah, we're willing to talk about it. It's got to be right. And I've said before, I don't anticipate going down to a point where we're losing the level of player that we're looking at right now. I think we're in a good spot the way the talent is in this draft to get one of the guys that is a premier talent.
You kind of answered the second part that I was going to ask you. Is there a line of demarcation of how far you would be willing to go back?
I think so. It all depends on the compensation. But again, I don't want to drop down a whole level of player. And we think there are some really top level players that we're going to have access to right where we are.
Duke, how many premier players at that level, non-quarterbacks, do you think there are in this draft?
I probably won't answer that in a firm way, but we think there's a number that we would really feel would fit us and improve us as a team immediately. And so whether that's 3, 5, or 10, I probably won't answer that in a firm way right now.
Is there a reason that the Bengals have so much cap space right now compared to most of the other teams in the league?
No, we budget for our current team. There are things that will come off of it as the draft unfolds. You've got a budget for your draftees. You've got a budget for potential injury guys throughout the course of the year. You have to budget for your practice squad. We plan on having a practice squad, so all those things have to fit in the budget. I think there are teams around the league that are still going to have to wiggle to achieve the number that they need to get through the season.
Duke, obviously, you were a person to go see Jamar Chase at his pro day. What were your impressions of him?
I thought he did a real nice job. Looked like he had been working well with the season off that he had. Looks very competent in about every area that a receiver can look competent. Tested out really well, and we enjoyed our time down there with him.
Duke, it seems like a good number of the top prospects, maybe more than not, opted out, and then compound that with injury that they maybe had the year before. How much more difficult does that make the evaluation process this year?
I think it's a little more difficult. You're right, Dave. When you don't have current film to look at, it can be problematic, or it can leave you wanting to see a little more. But those won't be decisions that we choose to not take a guy based on. It was a challenging year for everybody. different conferences had different time schedules, and so everybody's situation was different. And it's not going to be something that's a hard and fast decision point. We'll evaluate what's there to be evaluated, and every player is a projection into the NFL, no matter if they played this year or didn't play this year. You still have to project the traits onto your team and in the NFL.
Hey Duke, how do you see the debate, kind of a red hot debate out there? The tackle, do you see the tackle as being a rarer spot than the wide receiver? It would seem like in Bengals history and through the league, the tackle, an elite tackle is rarer than an elite receiver.
Well, that's a pretty elegant way of asking a question that I'm not going to answer, Jeff. And I appreciate you. I appreciate you articulating it that way. But I don't intend to get into the debate about some of the very top level players in this draft. We're going through our rankings still. We're having meetings daily on it, and we'll come out with the order for our current team and for the long term of the Bengals. But I appreciate the question. But in terms of trying to rank some of the top names in the draft based on position or otherwise, I'll probably avoid at this point.
Sorry about that. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there, Duke. I got carried away, I guess.
Jeff, you can't put me on the spot. You can offer any questions you want. I just might choose not to go into greater detail. I wish I had some interesting things to show you like I did last year, but I've got this room isn't very interesting, and I don't have my porch to walk you guys around. So it's I need some other time killers. So I'll just have long-winded non-answers for some of these questions. Sorry about that.
What do you think in today's game is the toughest position to accurately predict success translating from college to pro? Maybe taking QB out, because obviously there's a lot there, but has that maybe changed over the last 5 to 10 years?
That's a good question. I don't have every position, has certain traits that you'd like to see, and then every player has certain deficits that you have to say, okay, we'll accept that or we won't accept that. Very few players have all the traits you want and every measurable you want. But there isn't an easy position to say that's a definite translation. The biggest piece that we have is, if you could tell me who was going to stay healthy, I would probably jump on that bandwagon immediately. So the health of these players is very difficult to predict, and the injuries that they will have in the future are very difficult to predict. In general, I think the game changes from college to the NFL. I think sometimes the size, strength, and physicality on the line of scrimmage is a big jump. And for some of the skill guys out there, I think maybe it's a little less of a jump because there are dynamic athletes that can run and move and cover in college as well. So, for the guys in the trenches, the strength, size, and physicality will all increase on our level.
Duke, y'all cut Gio Bernard here recently. What are you guys looking for in a backup for Joe Mixon?
Yeah, I think we feel good about the guys we have in the barn. I think Samaje's role is going to grow, and I think he earned that last year. And I think we've got some belief in Travion as well. Whether there'll be an addition beyond that, we'll see as we go. I have nothing but the utmost respect for Gio. He was a successful pick for us, played 8 years here. We would have liked to have had him back maybe under different terms, and totally respect the fact that he chose a different path. But really a marvelous person. He's been a wonderful addition for us, and had a good career here, and he's a guy that I'll miss being around. He's just a wonderful guy, and I wish him success.
What do you make of the growth of the receiver position, the last few drafts specifically, and obviously over time we've seen how much you think these drafts with tons of quality receivers making an impact is just the way of life in the NFL going forward, or do you think it's maybe a thing where the pendulum will swing back and forth?
That's a good question. You know, colleges are throwing the ball an awful lot, and so they're developing these guys. And the NFL is become a passing league as well. So when you bring them in, you want to get use out of them right away. And I don't know that it's necessarily a new thing. When AJ came to us, you know, his first year, we threw him right in, and he was a dynamic player for us. So especially with early round wideouts, you know, you expect them to come in and contribute. That's why you take them. And I think the game translates a little more one-to-one, you know, from the college game to the pro game there.
Hey, Duke, what do you think the toughest part about trying to evaluate an edge guy is? It seems like they come from all sorts of leagues and shapes and sizes. What's the toughest part about trying to project what an edge guy can do in the league from college compared to?
Yeah, a lot of times it's maybe a little different than what they're doing in college. They're facing different guys, and so you want to make sure that the guy has enough strength to hold up in the run game, and then does he also offer the ability to rush against good tackles? And they've got to have some length, they've got to have some strength, they've got to have flexibility, and there's normally a time frame where they learn the techniques that develop over time and that are successful in the NFL. But like any position, you know, the better athlete he is, the tougher he is, the more desire he has to get to the ball. With all defensive players, they've got to have desire to get to the ball and make the play. And if that desire is lacking, normally you're not going to build that in them over time.
Is there a measurable that's non-negotiable after all your years doing this? I mean, is there a measurable that if this guy lacks this or doesn't have that, 99 times out of 100, he just doesn't pan out? Or is it just guys figure out ways to, to overcome their weaknesses? I mean, what is there a non-negotiable and measurable or not?
For every non-negotiable measurable you could list, you could also list a guy that's overcome it. And so the great thing and the fun thing about scouting is every player is a totally complete independent case study. And so where they might lack in one area, they might make up for it in another. And no two players are identical. And so that's the fun part about scouting is that very few players have every trait that you want. And you have to try to determine who's made of the right stuff and can overcome that, and who can't. But I wouldn't list, every scout in the league is going to tell you, is bigger better? Yeah, bigger is definitely better. Is stronger better? Yeah, stronger is better. Faster is better. Tougher is better. I think the trait that is probably overriding with all successful players is, do they enjoy playing the game, or do they play it for what the game brings them? And that's the toughest piece for a scout to uncover, is what motivates the guy. Does the game motivate them? Does the competitive nature of the game motivate them? And do they like performing, or do they do it because they can? And the ones that do it because they can are normally the ones that flame out earliest.
Duke, I know you made a evaluation of Jamar Chase, but can you evaluate Mr. Sewell as an offensive lineman? What your impressions of him is?
Yeah, I commented on Chase's pro day. I'll be happy. I was fortunate enough to get out to Oregon to see Panay's pro day. Physically, exactly what you're looking for. He's strong. He's big. He's thick. He has balance. He's got good movement for his position. He's got versatility, and again, it appeared that he took the time to get himself ready to go in the season that he had off. So, it was also a very impressive pro day.
Duke, a lot of debate at number 5 as we look at these mock drafts. Can you give us an idea if that debate was the same in your draft room with you and Mike and Zach and the Brain Trust, how that process works, and ultimately, if there's a total disagreement, how you guys work it out?
Well, the position we're in right now, we're going to have a guy that everybody likes. And that's why I'm careful to get out of a position to where we're making those strong arguments where somebody is dead set against somebody. We're going to have a choice between people that we feel very strongly about. So that's a good position to be in. And we're just talking through what is the best way forward. And those discussions are ongoing, and they involve everybody that's had a hand in the evaluation. And I feel strongly we'll make the right call for us, but it's a call between really good options at different positions with different players. And so that is a good position to be in. When you pick high in a draft, Gary, it's you pick a good player, but you leave a lot of good players on the board. And we're going to leave good players on the board. We get one pick. If we had multiple picks, we'd certainly use them. But we feel like we'll take the right guy for us, and we'll get to that point sometime prior to draft day.
What led to you guys bringing back Quinton Spain? And I guess what are your expectations for him heading into the season?
Yeah, Quinton Spain came in, did a really good job for us, fit in immediately, learned our system fast. The thing Quinton offers is experience, toughness. He's a good leader, and he can learn fast, and he can play multiple positions. And so Quinton Spain is a proven NFL player, and he'll be in the mix to have a real role for us. And we'll see how it goes. There'll be other people in that mix as well.
Duke, when you're evaluating these prospects and trying to figure out if they do love the game, like you mentioned, how valuable is it to talk with Joe Burrow about the LSU prospects, or T. Higgins about Clemson, or Jonah Williams about his former teammates at Alabama, and kind of get their input on what they think about these prospects?
Yeah, I think when you can talk to teammates of guys, there's a perspective there that you don't have access to. And so we try to take advantage of that the best we can. And, a lot of these guys have close relationships with some of these players. And so, we use every source we can. It's no different than talking to his high school coach or his college coach or the coordinator or the head coach or the trainer or the strength and conditioning guy. We try to talk to as many people that know the guy and come to a consensus on him, and teammates fit into that mold for sure.
Duke, the Jets traded Darnold, pretty much guaranteeing that a quarterback will go 2. The 49ers moved up, guaranteed the quarterback will go 3. Did you do a little bit of a fist pump every time a spot in front of you is basically guaranteed to be a quarterback?
Well, I can't confirm a fist pump, and nor can I tell you that I know for sure what they're going to do. You can read the tea leaves. The one thing I know for sure is that when we go to pick, we will have known what they've done, unless they choose to pass. And I don't think that that's going to be the issue. So I think all picks will be turned in ahead of us prior to the time expiring. So we'll know, we can guess like everybody else, and we can feel like we know. But the one thing is we will know before we go. And so that's really all that matters to us.
Duke, the pre-draft narrative around y'all has seemingly excluded Kyle Pitts. What are y'all's thoughts about him, and kind of what do you make of him as a prospect?
Yeah, I can't confirm any of the pre-draft narrative. That is more your world, Ben, than mine. But we were able to go down and see Kyle at his pro day as well. Really outstanding traits for the position. A lot of versatility. Catches the ball well. He runs well. He's going to be a matchup problem for defensive coordinators in the league. Motivated kid, and very impressive to see in person and talk to.
Y'all are about year 3 of this rebuilding project. As one of the guys in the front office where we can speak to, what's the feeling like entering this year, and kind of what are y'all looking for as a front office in 2020?
We want to win. That's every year. It doesn't change. We have goals like every team has goals, and the number one goal is to win. And when we line up on Sundays, the expectation is to win. Everything we do in preparing the team is with that expectation. Everything we do in acquiring players is with that expectation. So that's an easy answer. We want to win, and we want to win every time we take the field.
Duke, how does that impact your thought process with the 5th pick? how quickly that player can make an impact or how big of an impact he can have right away.
James, I would expect anybody we take in that with that fifth pick is going to be the expectation is that he's going to come in and help us win immediately and play a big role. That's the expectation, and we'll have a vision for that guy. But yeah, it won't be a long development process with a guy that we take there. His expectation will be to come in, be a starter, and be a producer for us.
2 more minutes.
Duke, you've had some rotten luck when it comes to injuries with your first pick in recent years. Does that have any impact, you know, on where you might go this year? Or is that just one of those things that, you know, obviously you always take the medicine or the medicals into consideration, but does that history have any impact?
If I could predict what's going to happen to these guys when they take the field with us, it would make life a lot easier. But Dan, we've taken guys that have never missed a game in college that the first thing that happens to them with us is they come in and get hurt before they even take the field. And then we've taken guys that have had injury issues in college that come in and never get hurt again. So it's not something that you can predict. It's not something that we figured out how to predict anyway. You got to take guys that you know are motivated, and when they do get hurt, they're motivated to get better and get back on the field. We can judge that, but in terms of predicting a shoulder injury or a pec tear or an ankle sprain that's 6 weeks out, or we just haven't figured out a way to predict those yet.
Speaking of injuries, your quarterback said that he's still optimistic about playing week 1. Are you optimistic that he'll be available for the season opener? And how is his rehab going, in your estimation?
Yeah, I'm with Joe. If he's optimistic, I'm optimistic. That's Joe, and that's our expectation too. And I haven't been close to the rehab. I've been grinding away in the draft room. But when I've seen him, I've been impressed with where he is and how he's working, and what he says, I believe, and that's certainly our expectation too. He checks the boxes for a motivated player and one that loves the competition and loves competing, and will do what it takes to put himself in that position.
One last question.
Speaking of Joe, how much is he lobbying for Jamar Chase? Is he?
I haven't heard a lobby. Again, I've been head down in my draft room. Joe is aware of the players that we have in front of us. I think he's on board with anybody we choose, from that group. And there is no active lobby for any one or the other. I do think he is aware of the universe and is on board with anybody we choose from that universe, and that's a good thing. I've said it before, we're going to do what we think is best to make Joe as successful as he can be, because the more successful Joe is, the more successful the Bengals will be. But the expectation is always to win, and that's his expectation, that's mine, and it be everybody's in the organization. And so we'll take the guy that we'll think will help us achieve that.